Hey guys, Brian Hathaway here, episode 4 or 5 of Holdcast, sitting here on Holdfast. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, checking into a new country. If it's your first time doing it, it's awesome. It's the reason we do this. It's something to be excited about. It's a memory to cherish. It's amazing. It is amazing. So, first off is, before you leave where you are, check on the country that you're going to's website for any formalities, which there will be some, specifically towards immigration and customs. And then maybe others, just whatever it may, there may be a bio one on there. There can be a bunch. So just make sure you read through all of it. You can go to Noonsite. Noonsite's got a bunch of good information. It costs like $2 a month for, if you're going to cruise and go long distances, it's invaluable. The amount of they have every bit of clearance for every country down to like the letter, like to the last detail. So it's a lot of information there. Or Facebook. There's a lot of good Facebook groups per country, per region that you're going to go to and say, hey, I'm coming. It's my first time. I'm super excited. What should I do? Believe me, 16 people will jump out happily and be like, oh my God, you got to dive here and make sure when you go to the counter, you go to this guy and the burger here is amazing and you got to check. So like it's out there. Everyone helps everybody. That's how this cruising thing works. It would not work if it was one boat. Be a lonely person. So understand the responsibility is on you to know the process. So I mean that to say, when you get to another country, ignorance is not the answer. Just because you don't know does not mean you're not wrong, right? It's on you to know the laws, the customs, and all that stuff of the countries you're going to, if that makes sense. The visa really is the biggest example of like beforehand. Like for example, Indonesia, you can get a 30-day on arrival, renewable once, or you can get a 60-day pre-approved online that's renewable 3 times or 2 times and stay for 6 months. So that's the kind of thing where you want to know ahead of time. If I'm only going to be in a country for a week, I don't really care. But if I want to go to like Indonesia and dive a lot, well, I want to have the full 6 months to cruise around. Sometimes you need an agent, sometimes you don't. Depends on the country. Singapore requires an agent. I know that. Palau did. I was the last person. They dropped it a day before I got there on the ocean. And when I arrived, I got a message from a buddy of mine saying that law doesn't exist anymore. So I texted the agent. I was like, hey, I was going to pay you $750. You have done work for me, but like now that that's gone, that's a very unreasonable amount of money. And she's like, well, what do you want to pay? I was like, $250. That's what I paid everyone else so far. And she's like, no problem. I completely understand. So that worked out really well. But look, the agents do the legwork for you. That's the good thing about it. If you can afford them, they're amazing. It makes your life way, way, way simpler. You just show up at immigration, you're done. You have all the paperwork, everything's already ready for you. So it all comes at a cost, though. When you get to the new country, make sure your yellow flag, your Q flag is flown, so they know that you are checking in. Try not to get in on weekends, holidays, holy days, all that good jazz. If they are open, probably not. You will pay overtime fees. In Palau, again, I paid 4 guys $50 each to come down on a Saturday and check me in. Hindsight, I should have dropped the anchor and had them check me in on Monday. But you don't really allow that there, so you really can't do it. It's the same thing with getting in at night. If you get in at night, find an anchorage. Don't attempt to get into a marina. Don't attempt to contact anybody. Just be like, hey, anyone ask, be like, I got here at 2 in the morning. If they want proof, take pictures of the sharp water. I don't know. Record something. There's ways to like record time of where you are based on GPS location. The paperwork that's usually asked for is your passport, crew list, boat registration, AAS registration, proof of a vaccine. That's rare at this point. Ship station license, captain's license, sanitation certificate, any documents that they have on their website. Like Indonesia has their cruising yacht paper. You have to fill it online. Insurance, if it's applicable. Some places require insurance. Malaysia, Thailand. Malaysia actually requires no-fault liability as well as wreck removal. So just know what that is ahead of time. What I did after Fiji, I realized everyone just kept coming and getting my passport, crew list, and boat registration and making copies of it. So in Fiji, I made 50 copies of my passport, my crew list, my boat registration, and made pamphlets. Made 50 pamphlets. So when I went to Kiribati and Marshall Islands and Micronesia, everywhere I went, everyone that came to the boat was handing them a pamphlet, and they went away. It took like 5 seconds to check in, because I had everything they needed. They didn't even come on the boat, which is amazing. Whatever you can do to make their life easier, believe me, it's in your best interest. If your crew is going to jump ship or get on, make sure you get copies of plane tickets, specifically if someone gets off. If someone checks in with you on your crew list, leaves while you're there, and then when you go to leave, you don't have their passport, they're not there, they're going to ask you where that human is. You can't just stay in Fiji or where they are. You'll say, oh, they flew out, and they'll say, okay, show me a plane ticket. So have the plane ticket. Let's see here. So call or hail once you get around. It could be a radio channel, it could be email, it could be WhatsApp. You should have an idea or a positive notion of what you're supposed to do. Sometimes that does not happen. It's happened to me at least 5 times. Once I actually went ashore, I guess you would say illegally, because they just ignored me for like a day and a half. And I'm like, all right, well, I have no food. I'm by myself. I went directly to immigration, but I went to shore without talking to them. If you get somewhere at night, leave your dinghy up. Don't bring the dinghy down, because they'll think you left the boat. If you just don't bring the dinghy down until you have to go to shore. Like if they're coming out to see you, leave the dinghy up, just so they know you didn't leave the boat. Don't leave the boat. It's illegal. They'll tell you to leave. Don't leave the boat. The majority of places, it's immigration first, then customs. Port captain, depending on where you are. Obviously, that's subject to change based on what country you're in. If they ask you to go ashore, again, go directly to immigration. Do not stop and get a cheeseburger. You'll be breaking the law, and they will tell you to leave. If they're going to board you, make sure the boat's clean. Don't worry about the outside, but clean the inside of the boat. Unless you're trying to hide gunk in a mess. They're way less after if your boat apart if it's super clean. You're like, oh, this person's ship shape. Let me see. Oh, be courteous, obviously. Be kind, be calm. It gets you nowhere to lose your temper, to lose your cool. If they're on your boat, talk to them if they want to talk to you. If they're just not looking at you and like walking around your backs to them, do not annoy them. Just go sit down, offer them cold water, offer them some chips or something like that. That's not bribery. You're just, you're on the boat. 99% of the time, I'll have candy out and they will suck all that candy down. Depending on the country you're in, then uniforms will vary tremendously. You just don't know. In Micronesia, they had on board shorts and a t-shirt with no badges. They could have been just as likely there to sell me produce as to check me in. But do not take that for granted. That's that culture. That's that country. They have just as much power as the customs person does in America. They can get you all banged up. So don't take anything for granted when it comes to that. Let's clean the boat. I say it again because it's really important. When they board, I'll offer water. It's usually hot out. We're in the South Pacific, so I'll offer some water. I've had them in Mexico tear my boat apart completely twice. Like opening Amazon packages, bad. Like 3 hours in the boat, bad. And I have nothing in here to hide. And then I've gone to a bunch of countries where like they just like look down the companionway. I've been to 3 countries where they just took pictures with me and the person that was on the boat, and then left. And I'm like, cool, all checked in. If there's anything you're required to declare, do so. Just hiding things makes no sense to me. I don't understand people that do that. I know 2 people that have gotten in a lot of trouble for trying to hide things. It just doesn't. There's nothing I have on this boat that's worth hiding. It's worth A, going to jail in another country, paying a fine in another country, dealing with the hassle. I don't even want to deal with it. Just, So do your due diligence there. Know what you need to declare, then declare it. Plants, fruits, veggies, booze, guns, pets, medicine, to name a few. It varies. The green stuff, obviously, with the fruits and veggies, depending on what country and with some meats, they might ask you to throw it away. Plants, I had like basil plants and then something else, but like I'm like, look, it's never gonna leave the boat, and they just let me keep it. They're like, all right, just don't take it ashore. It just depends what you're gonna get. And it depends how nice you are. I am overwhelmingly, ridiculously polite. Like, hey, how you doing? Like over the top polite. I'll learn like 5 words in their language and I'll say them kind of dumbly, So they'll laugh at me, like, just, you want them to like you. Not just if there's anything bad in the boat. I just don't want it to take 3 hours. I would just want this to be a quick process and be done. So for me specifically, I have medicines. I have one medicine specifically that is not illegal, but pretty gosh darn close. I got it in Singapore. I got prescribed out of LA. I have a note from both of my doctors, who I am, all the medicine I'm taking, when I take them, how much I have, why I'm taking them, and where I got them. And then all of the medicine has my name on the bottles. Because you don't need a prescription if your name is actually labeled on the bottle. So when anyone ever comes on, my problem isn't that medicines are really bad, although one is pretty close. It's I have so many. I get 6 months at a time because like depression medicine, stuff that I take, like Seroquel and stuff like that, you don't have it in any of the South Pacific, North Pacific, Southeast Asia. They don't have that medicine in any of the pharmacies. So I have to have that stuff sent in. And since I'm having it sent in and it costs so much money, I have 6 months at a time sent in. So they come on your boat, and you're like, oh, why do you have 5 million pills of this medicine? And you just have to explain, hey, I'm sailing around the world. It's difficult to get them. Hence, I get a lot of time. And then my note from my doctor says exactly that. So have yourself covered. Very, very important. Have that. If you know someone's coming on your boat, have that envelope ready with all those papers in there to be like, here, I'm legal. Guns and animals are the absolute worst things to have on a boat. Animals with the, depending on where you go, this could be quarantine. Just the hassle of, I don't know. I don't see. I love dogs. It just doesn't make any sense to me to have walking on shore. There's like rabid dogs everywhere north of the equator. Just doesn't make any sense to me. And then the other thing is, if you get sick, what are you going to do? Because there are no veterinarians. They basically eat their dogs. And I'm not kidding. I can name 2 countries where they eat their dogs. I'm not going to say what they are, but I know they do because guys told me. Like, I'm saying, like, do you have to do it because it's some ritual? They're like, nope, we like to taste. I'm like, okay. Guns, I had a gun on the boat until a day before I left. I've been out for 2.5 years or 2 years now, about 20,000 miles-ish. Had the gun on the boat until it was like the second to last day, and I kept going back and forth and watching YouTube videos of people on them, and it's just such a pain. Like, if someone gets on my boat in the middle of the night, I'm in my bedroom, my gun on the pillow, like at home, I could probably light them up. The problem is the reason you would have one is not for that, because rarely does anyone, just never happens when you're in a marina where someone breaks into your boat. I've seen it happen one time in, like, I don't know how many marinas and how many. Just the problem is you keep it for pirates, but they have Kalashnikovs in like RPGs. So if I'm throwing 9mm bullets from them from my little Glock, let's just say if they get they're going to kill me for sure. They're not going to hit ransom me. They're definitely going to kill me. So it just doesn't. It's just the argument that it's self-defense is ridiculous. You're just as good to have a baseball bat when you're sitting in a marina to help yourself, or a machete or something. I do have bear mace though, which is not super allowed in some countries. Let's see here. The last thing you might do is ask about permits for local cruising, like Raja Ampat in Indonesia, the Rock Islands in Palau. You need to get little permits to go out there. Again, if you go out there and you don't have a permit, they're going to fine you. Because again, the illness is on you to have all of that stuff done, get your logistics all worked out. So that's all I got, man. This is such a great thing to talk about for me. I remember the first, like I said, Polynesia or Mexico. It was such an awesome, brand new thing to me. It was just like, wow. Especially Nuku Hiva, because it's just so foreign to any place that I'd ever been in my life. And I'm just like, oh my God, everything's different. People were speaking a different language. The money was different. The food was amazing. It was just super beautiful. The mountains are gorgeous. So it was just it's an awesome experience. So I hope that everyone is out there doing that right now. Turn the computer off. Go to a new country. Fair ones.